Hey guys, it's Duc, and in this episode, let's talk about how to draw directions from our current location to a selected location on the map from one place to another with turn-by-turn direction on the map. So this is how the app will look like after this episode. The starter project that you can download in the description, what we did in the last episode is we have a MapView, a full-blown MapView, and inside that app we text the data from Apple's API. Foursquare API. We download a bunch of Starbucks restaurant in San Francisco. We text the user current location, and then now in this episode, what I want to do is we tap on one location, we tap the direction button, we will draw the direction from the current location to that Starbucks restaurant that we just selected. So that is what we are going to do in this episode. So step number one, download the starter project that I prepared for you in the description. There will be a link for you to download that starter project. So now let's get into demo. Download it first. There you go into my blog, you submit your name and email so that I can send the starter project, the complete project, and some awesome extra trainings for you to your email. So now let's get into the demo. Download it now. Alright guys, so this is how the starter project that you download in the description will look like. We have a fully functional MapView app, and this app, it displays a bunch of Starbucks restaurants in the map. And the last episode we talked about that, we create that. In this episode, I want to focus on how to draw directions, how to draw route on the map. So what we want to do is when I click into this pin, and then it will pops up an annotation. And then when I click into this little button over here, the direction button, when we click over there, we tap over there, it will draw a little direction, the street direction from here to there. So that is what we want to do, and then it will zoom in nicely. So we have the beautiful direction in the map, and we'll talk about how to customize the color, the stroke width, all of those things. So if you haven't downloaded the starter project, download it now. In the description, there will be a link for you to download it. And then let's get started. The first thing first, when you find out the MapView controller, we'll just only focus on this MapView controller. And if you want to explore the rest of the project, just have a look at the tutorial I posted in the link in the description, the previous episode. Okay, so you don't need to have the last episode, you don't need to watch the last episode to understand this one, because this thing is pretty much standalone. So here, the first step is we have an IB action called show direction with a sender like this, right? So whenever this button, little button over here, click, tapped, this IB action will get triggered. Cool. So now, number two, let me create a property called current placemark of type CL placemark optional. Now this placemark over here, we use this thing to save the current placemark. A placemark is an object that contains the street address, the city, the country, the state, the latitude and the longitude, or the coordinate of a location. So here we have Starbucks 390 Stockholm Street, San Francisco, CA 94108. The zip code, the postal code, that is all of those information, including the latitude and the longitude and a lot of other things, is a place mark. And we want to store the place mark, the current place mark is the one that we just tap onto this pin menu or the pin button. Cool? All right. Now, how can we know that we tap into this thing so that we assign the current place mark? Well, that is this MapView Delegate is for. So if you scroll down, there will be an extension for the MapView controller that conforms to MK MapView Delegate. And below this function, I want to create a method called MapView did select view MK annotation view. So whenever we tap onto an annotation like this method will get called. And this view here that contains the annotation will be our new location. So I can get that location to be the view.annotation because that is an annotation view. And because that is an annotation in this project, I set it as a venue. The venue here is a model class that we create in the last episode. You don't need to worry about that because in your map app you can model exactly what I did here. The venue is one location. It can be a restaurant. It can be like a retail store location of yours, right, in your app, or it can be anything that you want to show on the map. And this object here is an NS object that conforms to a MK annotation. You see that? Alright, now we get that annotation from the location. And then let me assign the current place mark to be an MK place mark with a coordinate of this location dot coordinate because it has the coordinate. Okay? So now we have the coordinate. We have the current place mark. Our job is now to implement this shell direction. So there are several things that we need to do in order to implement this shell direction. Number one, we want to make sure that we do have the current place mark. Otherwise, we know the source, which is the beginning location, the my location, the current location, but we don't know the destination location, which is the current place mark that we want to go to. So we need that current place mark. We can get that equals to current place mark, else we'll quit out of this function immediately. You see that? Alright, next thing. Let me create a direction. Let a direction request to be an MK direction request. And from this direction request, we are going to set the source, the destination, the transportation type, and a lot of other things that you can do. So the next thing is I want to create a destination place mark from this current place mark. And that is an MK place mark with the place mark of current place mark. MK directions request. That is plural. Alright, next step is we need to set the source of the direction request, and that is MK map item dot for the current location. So an MK map item for the current location. Next thing, let's set the destination for this direction request. Direction request dot destination to be a MK map item with the place mark of our destination place mark, which is this thing that we just created. Now lastly, I want to set the direction request, the transport type of this direction request. Now, as you may know that in the map app, you can set a lot of transportation types. You can be automobile, it can be transit, which is like what's that? Like trains, and it can be walking, or you can even do nowadays you can do like a Lyft or an Uber. So that is like yeah, I think it's called a Lyft. So automobile, we want to by default by cars like that, right? Okay, now the next step is we need to calculate the directions, or we call that the route. So let our directions to be an MK directions with the request of directions request. Then I want to call the directions.calculate method, and this calculate method all it does is that it will calculate all the possible directions. It will calculate all the possible routes from the source and the destination that you give into this request. And what it does is it will bring it into this directions response. And if there's an error, it will be in this error. You see? Now, if we don't have any directions response, so guard let directions response equals to directions response. Otherwise, we check if we do got an error like this, right? If we don't have any, now this got here is pretty much the opposite of the if let, which is if we don't have any directions response, the else case here will get called. If the directions response here is nil, this else case will get called. If the directions response is not nil, then it will execute the rest of the call over here, right? And we can use this directions response below here, not like just inside the scope of this if let. You see that? So if we do get any error, I'm going to just print out error getting directions for our error.localize description like this. Okay, so I know I go a little bit fast here, but I hope that you can follow along, or you can pause the video. Okay, and then I will return out of this if let here. Let's see that. So we got, if we do get an error, then just print out this error, and I use string interpolation over here. Okay, now if we do get the directions response, let's get our route from the directions response.routes. And if you notice that this is an array of routes, it can be multiple directions because from one point to another, you can have multiple ways to go there, right? Multiple effective ways to go there. So usually it will be like, for example, 15 minutes, another way is like 16 minutes, another way is like 14 minutes, right? So you have multiple ways to do this. Here, for the sake of our demo, I'm going to just use the first route like that. Now, if you look at the Google Maps or the Apple Maps, or even, Google Maps and Apple Maps, or in California or in UK, they use an app called like Waze, I believe. So whenever you want to go from one direction to another direction, it gives you the ability to choose from different locations, right? Different routes, and that is this array over here. Now here we only use one route, so pretty much that is it, right? Now what I want to do is I want to add the line or the direction view of this route onto the map. So we do self.MapView add our overlay with the level. So the overlay here is pretty much very simple, route.polyline. And then the level I want to be above the roads so that we see that lines. We see that? Okay. All right. Now if we run the project now, let's run it and see how it looks like, right? So let's see, we have been running a lot of code, so let's see how it looks like. Here we go. And for example, if I select this location and I click into this guy, nothing happened. There's nothing happened. There's no line. Well, that is because there's a method in MapView, MapView Delegate that we need to implement. And that method is MapView renderer for overlay. So over here, MapView renderer for overlay, like this. So this method is the method that whenever you draw something, it will get called over here. So we have the overlay, which is the line that we just create, and then that line over there, you can set the stroke color, the color of the line. We can set the width of the line. We can set a lot of things with that. So let's the renderer to be an MK polyline renderer with the overlay of our overlay that is passed into this method. Then let's return the renderer immediately. Then inside here, we can set the renderer dot, how about the stroke color to be a UI color like blue color, or you know what, let's do it orange color. Okay, And then renderer.line width, let's do it as 4.0 points, like that. So now if you run the project, and hopefully we see that line showing up. Here we go. Okay, so this is the map. It shows up the current location like this, right? If I click into this guy, and oops. Alright, so we have an error over here, and it crashed the app, and let's see what it is. So we have the view, location equals to view.annotation as, so it says user, MK user location. Oh, okay. So I think that because we tap into this current location, so let's do it once again. So the error method, the error message, I think that the view annotation here, the current location, is not a value. So that's why. So let's click over here, and yeah. So here, so over here, let me cast it as like this, and if let, right, and then we do it like this, and over here, like that, just like this. Okay. So we make sure that we don't just like force grab that. Here we go. Now if I click into the current location, it shows up my location. And then now if I click over here, the Starbucks, and click the direction, and here we go. You see that? Is it beautiful, isn't it? Now there's one error or a bug or a pitfall is that if I click into another one and I click the destination, and let's see that it draws another direction, and over here I click over here, it draws another one. What is that? Well, it is because in the map view we add a bunch of overlays without removing the pass overlays. So now we need to remove that pass overlay. To do that, goes back into our show directions over here, and then before we add the map view like this, let's do self.mapView.remove overlays. Remove overlays, and then mapView, self.mapViews.overlays, like that. So we remove all the overlays here, and then we add a new polyline from the route. Okay. All right. Now let's see how it looks like. Where I click over here, direction for this guy, and notice that it takes some time, right? Click over here, goes over there, and it removes that line, and there we go. So you have direction for your app. Now, another one I want to do, the last thing I want to do in this short episode is that when we show up this location, right, we show the overlay, we draw that on the map. I want to zoom in nicely. Oops. Gosh, I think my, oh no, I think I pressed Command H or something. So I want to zoom in nicely like this. So how can we do that? Below the MapView.addRoute.polyline level above route, I want to scale up the map to make the route fit into the screen. So let's a rectangle. Let's the round rect to be our round.polyline.bounding map rectangle. And then I want to do the self.mapView.set the region animated. So the region here, I want to use the MK coordinate region for map rect. And then we put the route rect, animated as true so that it zooms in nicely. And now if we run the app, and here we go, we have our map here. Let me zoom a little bit too much. So zoom in like this, take some time to load. And then for example, I want to go here, right? Click over here, and it zooms in, it fits nicely our route. For example, if I want to go into a different place like this, and then click direction, and zoom still in, that is just 1 block away. It's still in 1 block. You see this 1 block, and like in the opposite direction of that block. Alright guys, I hope that you enjoyed this episode. If you do, can you do me 2 favors? Number 1, can you subscribe to this channel so that every single week I can continue to deliver free training video tutorial series for you right on this channel. And number 2, what we love to do for you is I have a new video tutorials training series on how to build real-world applications, how to build real-world successful startup apps like Instagram, Facebook, Nike e-commerce store. How to do that, I would love to share with you how to do that in my new video tutorial series. All you have to do is click the link right below this video in the description. There you can submit your name and email so that I send you the resources for this episode. Also, I will send you another email for those tutorials as well. So you'll love to do any of that, subscribe and download that new video series all for free in the description. Until then, my friend, I see you in the next episode. Go out there every single day of your life, learn new things, craft your ideas and contribute to the world.